Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Scott, also known as CINERAM, and here on the Movie Reviewers 100, somehow my lips always trip over that. I do the reviews for Thursday, since Collab 7 guys here, and I do the Thursday reviews. And I'm wrapping up this week's theme as usual, and this week's theme is the two Coreys, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, who had their heyday in the 90s. And fortunately, Corey Haim passed away in 2010. It's like 3 years ago already, you know. I have never been a huge fan of these guys, together or apart, really. Corey Feldman's had some good smart mouth characters he's played in movies like The Goonies and Stand By Me. And of course I was aware of their friendship and the fact they'd been in films together. As a matter of fact, Wikipedia has a page devoted exclusively to the two of them with a shared filmography. The Lost Boys in '87, which Corey Haim was the main character, more or less, and Corey Feldman was a supporting character. License to Drive the following year. And we had reviews of both of these movies. EJ did License to Drive, and James did The Lost Boys. Then after that, Dream a Little Dream, in which Feldman took his turn to play the main character. And Haim played a supporting character, and from there on out it gets into the crappy direct-to-video and direct-to-cable part of their shared filmography. Movies like National Lampoon's Last Resort, Dream a Little Dream 2, Big Wolf on Campus. Apparently they're both in Dickie Roberts' former Child Star, which I've never seen. I've never seen most of these, except for Blown Away, which came out in 1992 and is not, in fact, the Jeff Bridges, Tommy Lee Jones action thriller, but an erotic thriller in which Corey Haim has an affair with Nicole Eggert, who gets naked on multiple occasions and has wild sex with her, and Corey Feldman figures into it somehow. But basically, Corey Haim is like the William Hurt character. He's like the chump whom the femme fatale is using, or something like that. Saw it a long time ago on cable, was happy to see all the great sex scenes and everything like that, but like I said, not a huge fan of these two guys. As a matter of fact, I had never seen License to Drive until yesterday, which is apparently a classic 80s comedy, you know, very, very 80s, you know, all the clothes, the music, everything is super 80s, and the same is true with Dream a Little Dream. The difference between the two movies, of course, is that License to Drive has a good reputation, and Dream a Little Dream has a very bad one. But the two really have not been separate in my head. So, you know, I'm like, the Coreys, they were like the star attraction in both of those movies, as far as I knew. So I decided to see them both. And I found License to Drive a lot funnier than I expected. I laughed frequently during that film. EJ, you know, gave you, of course, the rundown, and I actually haven't seen his video yet. I wanted to, you know, watch the movie first before looking at his video. Yeah, basically, Corey Haim flunks his driver's test, and he lies and says that he has got the license anyway, but his parents find out and ground him. But when Heather Graham's character calls up and says, "Are you going to take me out, Corey Haim?" And he's like, sure. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I'll be over there as soon as I can. Checks to see that his parents are sleeping. Sneaks his dad's car, not his dad's car actually, his grandfather's car. His parents are taking care of this old caddy. So he takes that out and takes Heather Graham out for a night on the town, and then gets his friends involved, one of whom, of course, is Corey Feldman. And they get into all kinds of trouble. And eventually the car, although suffering a few minor scrapes, is more or less undamaged until it gets stolen by a drunk driver who drives it all over the place and scratches it up and, you know, drives it off a cliff or something like that. It's a total wreck. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is perfect. They have the perfect excuse now. They were worried about what minor little damage might be inflicted on the car when his parents found out about it, but now they have the excuse, oh, a drunk driver stole it. He must have snuck into the garage and taken it and driven all over the place and wrecked it. It's not my fault, Dad. I didn't do anything wrong. But he didn't do that. He ended up driving the car home anyway, and his father finds out that he was responsible, and he says, oh, you're grounded forever, and you know, you won't have, you know, not only will you, you know, not go to college because we're using your fund to replace the Cadillac, but there's you know, all sorts of other privileges. You're going to be grounded until you're 30, 40 years old. No more telephone, blah, blah, this and that. But luckily, his mom, played by Carol Kane, goes into labor, and so he has to drive her to the hospital for some reason. For some reason, his father has to sit in the back of the car with his mother and comfort her and coach her through the breathing while Corey Haim drives, despite the fact that he doesn't have a license. And he could have gotten his sister, I guess, to drive. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how that works. But when they get on the road, they find the car has been so beat up it only works in reverse, so they drive backwards to the hospital. At this point, credibility is stretched a little bit too thin for me. Because Corey Haim manages to get them safely to the hospital and find a perfect parking place and dodge all these other people while driving backwards. I'm like, I don't think so. But overall, funny movie. And Nina Siemaszko actually plays the Jennifer Grey character. You know how in Ferris Bueller, he's, you know, this fun-loving guy, Matthew Broderick as Ferris Bueller, and then Jennifer Grey is his older sister who's sort of a killjoy. Well, Nina Siemaszko sort of plays that character, except that I've seen her in other movies and I know how cute she is. You know, they might put glasses on her and make her hair dowdy, but I know she's really, really cute, so. And she still is, actually. She was in, like, The Haunting of Molly Hartley a couple years ago. All the main characters are young, but she's like a teacher or something like that. She's still very pretty. And she had a cameo in Reservoir Dogs, or she would have, but she got cut. But her scenes are on the disc. Anyway, enough of her. Corey Haim is, you know, his default expression is something like this. And Corey Feldman's default expression is something like this. You know, it's just, you know, they sort of play the same mood throughout the entire thing. But, you know, they have a good time and everything like that. It's a funny movie. I'd say I enjoyed it somewhat. And now we get to Dream a Little Dream, which is a movie that has gotten nothing but bad reviews, apparently. And I didn't really know what this movie was about, except that it had some sort of supernatural element to it. Corey Feldman plays the main character in this film. And he's a young guy who's hanging out with his friends and has a crush on a girl who's played by, oh darn, I can't remember her name, I'll have to check. Anyway, she's dating like one of his friends. One of his friends is played by William McNamara. William McNamara played the serial killer that was being tracked by Holly Hunter and Sigourney Weaver in Copycat from the mid-90s. And his girlfriend in the movie is played by Meredith Salinger, I just looked it up, who I really wasn't familiar with because I hadn't seen anything that she had done. She's done a lot of episodic television, and she appeared in some films, most of which I hadn't seen, notably like the main character in The Journey of Natty Gann, which is this Disney movie that I never saw. So I was totally unfamiliar with her, had no idea who she was, and I'm surprised she didn't have a bigger career, because she's gorgeous, you know, she's just incredibly beautiful. Anyway, Corey Feldman, as I said, has feelings for Lainey, played by Meredith Salinger. There's a subplot involving an older guy, a retired man played by Jason Robards, and his wife played by Piper Laurie. And he's into mysticism and New Age stuff and meditation and spiritualism and invites his wife to come out on the lawn in the middle of the night and commune with nature and what have you and feel nature around her. And so they're doing this while, by coincidence, Corey Feldman and Meredith Salinger are like traveling at high speed towards each other. She's on a bike and he's like sprinting for some reason, and they collide into each other, and the old couple vanish, and they are now inhabiting the young people. Jason Robards' consciousness who is transferred to Corey Feldman. So basically it's like a body switch movie. Corey Feldman is now playing Jason Robards' character trapped in Corey Feldman's body. Now Meredith Salinger doesn't have the same problem. She's still her character. She's still Lainey, but she has this. She has these feelings that she doesn't understand and are unfamiliar to her, and so she ends up spending a lot of time with Corey Feldman's character because she's sort of the Piper Laurie character, but not really. She just has these, you know, it's just there's a sort of spiritual association there. She remembers stuff. Or she has these feelings that Piper Laurie has, something like that. It's all kind of vague. And exactly how this happened and why and what they have to do to undo it is also kind of vague. So while the Jason Robards' character in Corey Feldman's body tries to assimilate to trying to live Corey Feldman's life for him, like doing well on the SATs and things like that. When he goes to sleep, he has dreams in which the two characters meet each other, and Corey Feldman's like, look, man, this is my body, you know, you got to do something to solve this problem, because after a while, I'm not going to be able to get it back, you know, it's got to be, you know, soon. There's other subplots involving the fact that William McNamara's character starts getting really jealous because his girlfriend starts spending so much time with Corey Feldman. Then there's the supporting character, Corey Haim, who plays a kid named Dinger, who is always talking about the fact that his mom ran over his leg years ago, and so it's broken. He has to walk with a cane everywhere. And eventually it gets to the point where they figure out exactly what it is they have to do. They have to sort of recreate the ritual that the older couple were performing in their yard. But he missed the opportunity to do this. He ends up having to go attend to some other problem involving his friend, who is in danger because William McNamara's character is on a rampage. He's got a gun and he might hurt someone. So he goes and deals with that problem, makes sure everything's okay. But he misses his opportunity, apparently, to perform the ritual, and so he might be stuck in Corey Feldman's body forever. But then something strange happens and everything just goes back to normal all on its own. And I was thinking, gee, this is kind of, maybe this is like karma or something like that. He did something selfless, and because he was thinking about someone else's safety other than his own, he was rewarded for it, but really there was no explanation as to why it happened in the first place and how it got undone. Everything just sort of goes back to normal and it's fine. So I understand why people don't like this movie. There's a number of reasons not to like it. First of all, Corey Feldman, not great at playing Jason Robards' character. He says the things that he's supposed to, but he doesn't really act like an older man. Not to mention the fact that he, you know, continues to, throughout the entire movie, dress and dance like Michael Jackson. Corey Feldman, of course, as a kid, knew Michael Jackson, palled around with him. Him and Macaulay Culkin were close with Michael Jackson. And in this movie, he wears a lot of clothes the same way Michael Jackson does, with a lot of crap hanging off of his belt and off of his shirt and things like that, with his long, stringy black hair like Michael Jackson had in Bad, and he wears a top hat. And then, of course, in one scene, he breaks out Michael Jackson dance moves. I'm like, please don't. You are not playing Corey Feldman, okay? You are playing a character in a movie that has nothing to do with Michael Jackson, okay? But, you know, what are you going to do? Some of the clothes in this movie are terrible. All the kids dress really badly, with the exception of Miss Salinger. You know, she's styled pretty nice, but she looks nice in the first place, so she could wear a trash bag and she'd still be attractive. What other problems, aside from just the basic premise not being well explained, everything like that, I noticed some funky editing in the movie. There's some scene transitions which are a little clunky, but for the most part there's a lot of sort of rapid cutting in the film, more rapid than I'm used to seeing in 80s movies. The movie was directed by Mark Rocco, who's an actor and who appears in the film as Corey Feldman's father. He only has like 2 or 3 scenes. But there's a lot of scenes which seemed like shorter versions of longer scenes, perhaps, and they got cut down just sort of like, just for time consideration. They want the movie to run on too long. So you have pieces of conversations that are all sort of cut sort of rapidly, and there's a lot of cross-cutting, and I didn't see a lot of that in 80s movies for the most part. So the editing feels more like something that would come out now versus something that came out in the 80s. But I guess people really didn't take to that too much. It wasn't a big success. You know, Wikipedia only lists like 9 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. They didn't actually check Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm sure there are a lot more critics that reviewed it when it came out than are listed in Rotten Tomatoes, but they're all negative. So it's got a 0 rating. Not that I listen to Rotten Tomatoes, because it's a website. You read it, you can't actually listen to it. They're not saying anything out loud. Just choking. Choking too. Joking and choking. Despite the problems that I have with this movie, I don't dislike it. I couldn't say that I dislike it, really, because I'd much rather see a very flawed but interesting movie than a very well-made, boring one. Exhibit A, The Mask of Zorro. Boring, you know. Very, very technically well done, good-looking photography and all that. Dull. Whereas this movie, you know, is kind of interesting. You know, not great. and you know, could have been better certainly, but not terrible. You know, not terrible. Yeah, I'm not going to pan it. You know, I'm going to say, yeah, probably not for everyone. There's probably a lot of people that don't like it still. But, you know, it's different. You know, it does different things, and I like that. So there's your double feature review of the two Coreys in their two most popular movies aside from The Lost Boys. License to Drive and Dream a Little Dream, which of course is deeply unpopular, and that just goes to show what their shared filmography is actually like. So there's my review. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back with a new theme very soon. Our new week. I think Al's actually taking this Friday off as well as last one. But hopefully EJ will have a review for you on Saturday on our next theme, and we hope you tune in for that. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate it. Have a good one.